It's thinking. Okay, thinking is over. We are live. I love it. Brad, glad to have you today.
Yeah, glad to be back.
Yep, second time. I love today's podcast. It's like really relevant to the season. So when you were on before, we really talked about, estimates in terms of your sales process. And now we really want to talk about making sure that you're doubling your margins by having the right pricing.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. It's such an important topic.
yeah, especially right now, because I think a lot of people get super busy and then kind of look after the fact to see what their margins are, and we want to be a little bit more proactive than that, right?
I call it Santa Claus accounting, right? You wait till the end of the year and see how much money Santa Claus brings you.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds exciting, I guess, when you say it that way, but that's not how we run a
No.
business. Oh, that's funny. Great. So, for any of those listeners that didn't see the first episode, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, actually, thank you. So, out of high school, I went into the Marines, did that for 4 years. Then I got out, tried a bunch of different jobs, tried to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And then I ended up getting, let me back up. In high school, I took some architectural drawing classes because I thought I wanted to be an architect. So later on, that would come into play. So after a few years, I was able to be a superintendent for a developer, and all of that drawing, those drawing classes really helped. So that was my start into construction. And then fast forward several years, I started my own business and did that for a little over 11 years. And then for the past, we're going on 5 years now, I've been doing coaching for contractors to try and help them avoid making all the same mistakes that I did.
I love it. Um, that's a good return on investment because I mean, I know what that's like to, really put your head down and slam it quite a few times before you figure it out.
Well, there's the two most expensive things you'll ever pay for in life. You know what those are?
Kids, probably kids, I have to put in there.
They're up there for sure. They're not the most expensive. The most expensive thing you'll ever pay for is taxes, right? It's just taxes, sales tax, property tax, income tax, all that. The second most important thing, or the second biggest thing that you pay for, is not knowing. Like
Hmm.
not knowing how to do stuff, not knowing the right actions to take, because the opportunity cost on those, or making the wrong decisions, the cost of the wrong decisions over the course of a lifetime. That's the second biggest expense, is not knowing.
Yeah. Yep. Um, that takes a little bit of thought, that's for sure. And so that's kind of a good segue, actually, because um, you offer the contractor profit blueprint. You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I wrote a book. Um, I got it right here for those watching. It's called the Contractor Profit Blueprint. I wrote it as like a blueprint. It's not like a theory or make you feel good about yourself, rah motivational book. It's got pages you fill out information, like you got to take action, you got to do it. So it's like an actual blueprint for contractors, really to help them boost their profits and then regain their freedom. The reason they started the business in the first place, right? Everybody, what they say, the entrepreneurs are the only ones that work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40 hours a week, something like that.
Oh my gosh. Guys, if anyone's listening, you got to chime in on that one because I'm sure we all get a chuckle from that. Well, in the book you talk about starting with mindset, which I'm a big proponent for. I mean, I just don't think that you're just going to grind and grind and grind if you don't have that mindset down. So you talk about mindset before pricing and then sales before systems. You want to go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, it's kind of like there's more. I distill it down to 4 steps, but obviously there's a lot that goes into that, right? Step one is fixing your mindset. Step two is fixing your pricing, which we can talk about mostly today. Step three is the sales and marketing aspect of it, where we have to learn how to market to the right people, and then we have to learn how to sell to those people. And then the final step is your systems and processes. And a lot of people get that part backwards because they think that is what's most important, is to have systems. But really, we want to have the financial and the profitability part figured first, because we'll have money available to actually invest in the systems that we need.
Hmm. So that's a pretty good order. You know what I mean? Like a very, very strategic thought in that. I want to talk about profit a little bit. So you say that 90% of contractors are leaving a ton of money on the table for every job that they sell well, which we know there's a lot that goes into, getting that customer. So I know you do audits, right? Of
Mhm.
their estimates when you work with somebody. Where do you think the money's leaking the most?
It's funny. I just recorded a podcast this morning, like 2 hours ago, talking about the seven areas of your business where you leak profit, and it's a combination of things. But the single biggest profit leak in your business is just not charging enough. Like, just
Mm-hmm.
as simple as not charging enough. And there's a lot of reasons that go into that, and there's a lot of psychology or mindset that goes into it, and that's where it ties into this what we're talking about. At the end of the day, most contractors, they want to charge more. They feel like they're worth more money. But the mindset part is, I want to charge more money, but people will not pay this much. Clients will not pay this much money. And so the only thing that's keeping you from like having a great business and staying stuck where you're at is just this one little blockage of they won't pay this much money. And that's it. So if we can remove that blockage, and we do it through proof, right? We do it through some strategies and stuff, but the main thing is like just proof within our community. And if you see other people that are doing the exact same thing you're doing, charging 10, 20, 30% more than you are, and they're selling jobs, it helps to break that belief. Like, well, why are they able to do it and I'm not? Right. But it's just literally is people will not pay this much money is the single biggest limiting belief that keeps people from being able to make more money.
You know, I have things to say about that, right?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I think that if your marketing is doing a good job, it's showing all of that proof and convincing somebody before they get on a call. I call it, a marketing should prime the prospect for sales. And then that
100%.
in return gives you better quality leads, and it gives you the privilege of charging what you should, because people are standing at the door waiting for you, and that's a really good feeling to have as a business owner.
I agree 100% on that. And if you think about it, like, let's say we're going to run a 100-yard dash, right? If we have no marketing in place, when we pick up the phone and talk to them, we're starting at the starting line. So we now have to run 100 yards, to make the sale. With your good marketing, it does all of the pre-selling for you. So now it's like you're starting at the 50-yard line, of 100 yard. You're already halfway there, or more. And so now you just got to, finish the rest of it. So I agree with you 100%. Excuse me. Marketing is one of the best sales tools you can have. Someone invests in a marketing company and service like you guys offer, you're going to be way ahead of the game. Because for some reason, contractors don't like marketing because my whole business is based on referrals, and I don't have to do any kind of marketing and all that. If you do
Mm.
good work, you don't need to do marketing. All of those kind of beliefs as well. But yeah, marketing, really good marketing is always going to set up your sales and make it so much easier.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I mean, I'll just be real. I love to do that as a business owner myself. Like when I get somebody that comes in the door that's already been following me for a long time, maybe they saw me at a trade show, listen to the podcast, like whatever. I know that they get it more, and so the way that I approach that conversation is going to be a little bit different. And so talking about mindset, I do think that if you have good marketing and positioning in the market, meaning like, don't just say quality craftsmanship. I mean, guys, we know you do that, and those are the things that are to be expected. So please don't say the things that people expect. That's not a wow factor. But anyway, I think that if your marketing does do a good job, it will give you that mindset. It really will. I've experienced it,
Yeah.
like living imposter syndrome and all these things. And then, people kind of, they find out about you on their own, and that's a really good feeling. But anyway, we're derailing here. This is about sales, but I just had to throw that in there because I think it's so important.
It's so important. I'll add on that real quick, and that is, I made a lot of videos for my business. I mean, I went live on Facebook. I don't know, it was probably like 10 years ago when I first went live. Like I'm always been like a tech savvy guy. So like any new tech, I'm on it before everyone else. And I had clients that would call me and be like, "Hey, we watch all your videos. We've seen all of your videos. We knew you were going to be the guy we were going to hire once we were ready to remodel our bathroom, et cetera, et cetera." So yeah, the marketing, whether it's social media or ads or whatever, all of that plays into building that brand.
Yep. Yep, yep, yep. Such a good thing. So, what about labor? What's tell me more about like a labor burden when it comes to pricing. What does that really include, and do you find that that's really far off?
Well,
Um,
almost always. Yeah,
okay.
it is. And I didn't tell you guys, we were before in talking about links. I have a labor burden worksheet that actually will like
Oh,
do all this for you. There's a small, it's $39 for that. I do charge for that. But anyways, the labor burden worksheet helps to figure out what your true labor burden is. Because your labor burden is not, I paid the guy $30 an hour plus, FICA and whatever, benefits I may give him. That's not your true labor burden. Your true labor burden includes, do you buy uniforms for them? Do they have a cell phone stipend? Do they get paid vacation time or PTO time? Do you have weekly meetings every week where they show up and attend? Non-productive time. Like all of these things add into there. Do they have vehicles? Now, some people will say that's an indirect expense. You don't put that in there. We can argue on that, but there may be other expenses tied to that. Gas, vehicles, maintenance, tools that are purchased, whatever it is. Like there's all these little incidental things that change your total hourly rate. So here's a simple one, and everyone always misses this. If you have a weekly meeting and it takes an hour a week for your meeting, you're paying your guy that hour to be there, right? So 1 hour times, say, 50 weeks, because they get 2 week vacation or whatever, that's $1,500 just for that meeting over the course of a year that you have to pay him, right? You're essentially losing $1,500. That should be rolled into the hourly rate because it's a part of having that employee, and the customer needs to pay for that.
yep.
So, and that's just one little thing. If you have 2 hours a week, if you do have 5 hours a week, if you do 2 weeks worth of training every year, like all of that ties into that. If you give out bonuses, if you send in if you pay for like external training, like you give everyone $1,000 stipend to go get training, all of that money should be rolled into the cost of that employee, and it will change your labor burden rate. So if you're paying someone $30 an hour, and let's say it's $36 after taxes and stuff, and you charge $36 an hour, that employee may be costing you $45 an hour. And so you could be losing $5, $6, $10 an hour for every hour they work, meaning like you're not charging the customer for that job. So the labor on that job, you may be charging $2,500 labor based on your burden rate, but in reality, you should be charging $3,000 in labor based on the burden rate for your team or whoever it might be.
Incredible, incredible. Brad, I really admire you. I think that you are just such a great asset for anybody. And guys, I don't invite people on. I don't say these things because Brad's paying me or anything like that. But
I'll pay you
I
later.
just yeah. I just love to be a conduit in the industry to connect people. And Brad's actually he sat in on not sat in, but he led one of our client mastermind calls. So we get our clients together. We specifically only work with deck builders or outdoor living contractors, and we get them together every couple of weeks, and we'll do either an open mastermind where people could just kind of bring one thing that they need to noodle on and try and get resolved with the other people in the group, or there'll be a topic. And so Brad led sales coaching, business coaching, and you're going to be on next week as well, right?
If that's what you tell me, I'll be there.
All right. Yep. Yeah.
Love
So
doing it.
it's just been great to, to have you support the industry in general and appreciate you very much.
I appreciate
Um,
the kind words. Thank you.
yeah, of course. So um, Chris Blanche, he was a client of yours. You want to talk about that a little bit? Because I feel like that's a good example.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about Chris. Is there a certain part like that's what part of that?
Yeah. So he about raising his pricing, and
Hmm.
what I have in the notes here is that he uh, he went from thinking he couldn't raise his prices to selling $215,000 in projects from his desk in 2 months. So I'm curious to know what changed for him.
Yeah, Chris is a great case study because not only did he change his sales process, but he actually rebranded his business too. So when he joined the Profit Club, it used to be a Block is how you say it. Block Building Services was the name of his business, and he had it for about 9 or 10 years. Some of that part time and then full time. And so they were doing the normal, we do everything kind of construction.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you need to niche down. You need to niche down. And so he niched down the bathrooms, right? And then smart enough to hire a professional branding company to help him rebrand to Blue Mountain Bathrooms, right? And the logo is fantastic. He's got a Yeti because he's in Pennsylvania, so they have a Yeti logo. He's even got a full blown costume he had made of a Yeti. His Yeti's name is Blue. He does all kinds of social media posts with his mascot. So if you're not following Blue Mountain Bathrooms, absolutely go follow them because they're doing awesome stuff. But he was doing one of the things that he was doing is he was doing a lot of insurance work. And unless you're doing lots of volume in insurance work, you're not going to make any money doing insurance work. Now, some of the people in the industry may argue with me, but the reality of it is, insurance is not going to pay premium dollars to have stuff fixed. So when we made the shift, we had them niche down to doing bathrooms. Everything became much easier because now you only have one type of service you're selling for, right? You're not trying to sell for
Mm-hmm.
kitchens one day and bathrooms the next day, and then basements, and then a deck, and then a roof, and we'll do whatever we can to make money. We niched down the bathrooms, and then we taught them the sales process. We taught them how to pre-qualify people, and we taught them how to charge for doing consultations, doing estimates. And within that, now it didn't happen overnight, don't get me wrong, but within him going through the rebrand, and about 6 months after his rebranding, because it takes a little bit of time for the rebrand to take hold, but about 6 months after his rebrand and the leads coming in, he was able to start closing people over the phone. And when we say close them over the phone, what we mean is they're agreeing to pay for a consultation, whether it's 500, 1,500, whatever. They're paying a substantial amount of money for you to come out there. You've already pre-qualified them. And so you have about a 95% chance of selling that job. There's always a few variables that may, derail that. But if someone's paying you $1,500 to come out to their house and do an estimate, they're serious about hiring you, right? And so at that point, it's really just your job to lose. Maybe you're not very good with people or whatever. I don't know, but that's why we say sell them. And so for him, he sold 215,000, I think, over those 2 months sitting at his desk, meaning he sold these jobs with paid consultations, and then ultimately went on and closed the deals. But I mean, that's where he sold that over sitting from his desk.
Pretty amazing. What do you think is the biggest mindset shift? If somebody is like, "Oh my gosh, there's no way I can pay that," or I could charge that. What do you think that is the biggest shift there?
Do you mean like what needs to happen, or?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this is where community comes into play. If I put you into a community with 20, 30, 40, 50 other contractors, and they're all doing this, they're all charging 50% gross profit, 100% markup. They're all charging for consultations. You now become the oddball. Like, oh, I'm the only one here who's not doing it. Maybe there's something, maybe I'm doing something wrong, right? So there's a little bit of exposure therapy, if you want to call it that. And then also sometimes they just got to get in there and like, dig out some bad stuff out of their head and get them to get them to like see the light, basically.
Yeah, that's good perspective. I love it. I'd be interested to know what the listeners, what communities you guys are involved in. Of course, I'm a big advocate of NADRA. We're going to be at Futurescape in a couple of weeks up in Santa Monica, which is going to be great. So make sure to meet us up there. Deck Builder Marketers is going to have a booth. I'll be speaking on a panel. It'll
Nice.
be really good. Yeah. So that's interesting though, because what about builders that are looking at the guy down the street that is undercharging too, and then really what is wrong with letting the market set your prices?
Yeah. Again, this podcast will drop Monday, so I would highly encourage anyone listening next Monday. I don't know when this is going to drop. I don't know when this is going to
Mm-hmm.
go live or whatever, but whatever day that is, the 17th or something, August 17th, on my podcast, it'll go live talking about that. So I'll touch on these very topics. But the competition thing, there really is no competition. Like the only competition is yourself. It's your own limiting beliefs. Because let's pick the coaching industry for example, business coaching. There's lots of business coaches out there. I'm not the only one. And in some cases I'm not the right one for depending on what your business is and what you're trying to achieve. But at the end of the day, people that go with me, they do so because they like me or my personality, or they like my philosophies, or they like, the things that I'm saying. So even though there may be other competition, if you provide enough value and you provide the right value specifically for the customer, then they really have no choice but to go with you because you're the only person that thinks you get them. In other words, you're like, oh, Brad, he understands. He has the same values. He has the same, way of doing, the way of thinking. He's locked in. He's got the process. He knows what he's doing. Like so, providing these specific values that are important to them, not to us, to them, then it's not a well, they're $5,000 cheaper than you. It's I really like Brad. Like this guy's $5,000 cheaper, but I really like what Brad's saying, and I really want to go with them. And so that's why I say you're not really in competition, at least over price. If anything, you're in competition over providing value.
I mean, there's a big trust factor there. What are some ways that, like, tangible, I guess, recommendations and how people could approach that?
So this is where it gets a little it's more like sales training because a lot of the value is not tangibles, it's intangibles.
Hmm.
And it's really emotions, right? So part of our sales process is teaching contractors how to tap into the client's emotions and figure out what's important to them. We don't care what they're building. We want to know why they're building it. Why do we want to build this deck? Why do we want to remodel this kitchen? There's some underlying issue, right? Like people don't just wake up and say, I want to build a deck. No, there's some reason. Like they want to be able to entertain because they value having friends over and they don't have a really good space that they can entertain people. So they want to have a nice deck, they can do that. There may even be some underlying, I want to show my friends that, we're successful or whatever, or we can afford a nice deck. Even there could be any reason, but we figure out what those are. And then once we know what those are, we basically use that. I don't want to say leverage. We're not trying to manipulate people, but we use it as leverage to make sure they understand that we know what's important. And again, it's an emotional exchange. It's not a tangible exchange. This is the part where actual sales skills enters the conversation because most contractors are order takers. You know what an order taker is?
Go for it. Tell me.
Well, you go to like McDonald's and you order food, right? You have a
Hmm.
cashier. What is she doing?
Taking your order, just
Taking your order,
what
right?
like you're like the customer is telling you what they want versus, yeah.
Yes. So a lot of
Hmm.
contractors are the order taker. So the customer comes to them and says, "Hey, Brad, we would like to have a 12 by 20 deck, blah blah blah, composite, blah 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 blah. This is what we want." And you're like, "Okay, you know, line item, line item, line item, line item. And I'm not saying you're giving them line item pricing. I'm just saying you're looking at these things as line items that you're going to use to tally up a total amount of money, and then you're going to give them an estimate that's like $20,000. You haven't provided any value. You've just literally taken their order and then gave them a price of what it's going to cost. Versus the other contractor who's been through the sales training, and they're talking about how is this space going to affect your life? Like, what are you going to use it for? How are you going to use it? Well, we're going to use it to have parties. My daughter's graduating from high school, this year. We want to have a big party and have our old friends. Oh, that's amazing. Think about like all the space you're going to have now, and you're going to be able to do this and this and this. And that's the emotional side of it versus I want a 12 by 20 deck. It's going to cost $20,000.
Yeah. Like, how is it going to impact their life versus, you know, if all you're doing is talking about, boards and materials and line items of cost, then that's all they have to go by is cost. It's sales really is psychology. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. 100%.
Hmm.
The best salesmen in the world, they understand this. And what's interesting that sales, and this is part of the people that like whenever contractors come in and they learn, it's like that seems counterintuitive. You should not be talking very much. Like you should only be talking 30-40% of the time. And that customer needs to be talking. So what really, really good salesmen are good at is asking really good questions. It's not about telling them how many awards they've had and how many years they've been in business. And, a lot of contractors think that they have to like sell themselves as to why they're the best. No, you don't. It doesn't matter. Like, honestly, you could be a really bad salesman, but if you're really good at connecting emotionally with people and asking good questions, by default, that will make you a good salesperson.
I'd say, and we're just jamming here, because I'm learning too, y'all. But I'd say like harvesting. Maybe you're kind of harvesting, right? Like you're just kind of a coach leading the conversation to get them to say what you would have said.
Yeah, you want them to come up with the ideas in their head. You ever watch the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding? Have you
Hmm.
ever watched that movie? Do you
Yeah,
remember
it's
there's a
been a
scene in
while.
there? It's been a while, but there's a scene in there where I think her name was Tula, if I'm not mistaken, the
Yeah.
main actress. They were trying to they wanted to send Tula to some computer classes at the university so that she could help with the travel agency. But in that culture, like women don't go to school, they don't go to university. The men do, right? And so they're trying to scheme with her mom and her aunt of like how to get her dad to sign off on this. And the moms and the aunts are like, we need him to make him we need him to think it's his idea. And so they go there and they're having this conversation at the diner, and they're like, how are we going to solve this? And he's like, oh, we'll have the nephew go do it. And they're like, no, he can't do it because of this. So the mom and the aunt are like, how can we figure this out? How can we solve this? We could do this, but that doesn't work. And they're just leading him. They're leading him. And then he goes, I know, we'll have Tula go and take the class at school, and she'll be able to do that. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. They're like patting him on the back, and he feels good. It's a good scene to go watch on YouTube. Like, look it up. That's exactly what sales is. It's getting the client to sell themselves. And you do it by asking questions and leading them towards the obvious answer. It's
That's
just
so
a
good.
great scene. It's very overlooked,
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna go watch it again and have a whole different perspective.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
cute too. It's cute to hear about those Greek ladies trying to convince the dad. I like that.
yeah. But
That's good
there's also
though.
like sometimes you'll get clients who are like, hey Brad, we're interested. We got your estimate, we like you, but you're like $10,000 more than the other guy. Right. And so
Hmm.
this is where you ask questions. But also one little caveat to that. If a client calls you and says, we got your estimate, but you're more expensive than someone else, they're doing that because they want to hire you. They like you. They just don't understand, or they want you to match the other price. They're trying to justify in their head, why are you so much more expensive? If they didn't like you or they didn't want to hire you, they wouldn't even call you back. they would just usually send a text or email like, "Hey, thanks for all your help. We decided to go with someone else." If they're calling you back saying you're more expensive, they're trying to figure out why. What's the difference? And you can't, this isn't where you start justifying, well, we use quality products and we've been in business for 20 years. No, we don't do that. You're like, did you say we were $10,000 more? They're like, yeah, you were $10,000 more. And, I'm like, for the exact same, I mean, they were quoting the exact same thing. Yeah, I mean, that's what it says. We even gave them your estimate. I'm telling you that, but we gave them your estimate and they matched everything and said that they were $10,000. And my response is, man, like, how can they do it for that much? Right? This is me leading, like, question. How can they do it? I'm shocked. Like, how can they do it from that much? Because my price is the price. I can't change it. Like, how can they do it for that much? I don't know. That's what they said. They said they could do it, and then I'm like, well, man, if they're going to put that in writing and that's what they're going to do, I would jump all over that because there's no way I can match that price. That sounds like a really good deal. I would just make sure that they're going to deliver everything they say they're going to deliver. Right? Now, there's some psychology that I don't need your job. Like, I'm not going to chase you. I don't need your job. That's what it is. And I'm shocked that they can do it. But there's the leading question is, how can they do it for that much? It plants a little seed of doubt in their head of like, I don't know. How can they? What are they? Maybe they're cutting corners. Maybe they're using different materials. Maybe they're not thinking about this. So all you do is you plant a little seed of doubt in their head. This isn't like foolproof 100% it's going to work. It's just, you can't always sell those people. But there is an opportunity there if you can get them, the client, to come to their own realization that the other contractor is missing something or not doing something, or they're going to cut corners. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're trying to figure out what that difference is. More times than not, if you do that, they will go with you.
Yeah. I say that with marketing too. It's like if you say the things that other people won't say, you're going to stand out. Even if you wrote an article on your site about who are the best deck builders in your area and you compare your business to the other ones, psychologically, that's showing that you're so confident, that you would write something like that you're probably the best fit.
I know people that will do that and they don't even put themselves in that list.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like,
Yeah.
here's the top 5, best deck builders in my city. And, they're not in that list. So yes, you're right. It's like, wow, if they're referring someone else, their competition, because it's supposed to be all hush hush, taboo. We're not supposed to talk about the competition. Like, they're bringing it up. Then there's something different about this contractor. Like, they're not afraid of the pricing or anything.
Mm-hmm. One thing that's coming to mind with all of this is, a lot of people are like, I don't want to be salesy, or that feels slimy or things like that. Now I have my take on that. And I'm of the very optimistic mindset, and it's just part of my personality too. And my take on it is, well, you're really there to help them. And so, like, you're only doing this in order to make sure that they're getting a good service and product, right? Which you are very confident you could deliver. So it's kind of your responsibility to make sure that they make a good decision, right? Do you want to speak to that at all and how you handle that if, there's a modest builder that's like, I don't know if I could do that?
Yeah, there's so much that just within this, and you can go a couple different ways with it, because there's a lot of contractors that, they don't charge more because they don't want to rip someone off. They want to charge more, but they feel like they're ripping someone off, and so that's more of a values and upbringing kind of thing you got to deal with, and that can hurt the sales process because I could tell you like, hey, you need to instead of charging 20,000, you need to charge 30,000. And if the contractor's like, there's no way they're going to pay that much, then they're not, because you're going to sabotage that deal, right? Because if you don't believe it in your own head, you're going to sabotage that deal. And so I forget, what was your original question? I knew I was going to forget this.
Yeah, I like to jam a lot into my questions. Well, just a lot of, I think a lot of builders are a little modest and feel that it would be kind of slimy,
Oh, salesy.
Mhm,
Salesy.
yeah. Hmm.
Yes, that's where we're going. Thank you. So the ones that are modest, they tend to undercharge, and they don't want to do these things because they think it's salesy. The reality of it is, and I didn't create like all of these sales tactics. I'm not like, sales has been around for thousands of years. It's just kind of regurgitated and repackaged in different ways. Sales is more about like what I call it a consultative approach. Like, you're just consulting with them. You don't care if you sell that job to them. It's not your job to sell them a job. It's not your job to sell them a job. Your
Yeah.
job is to help them figure out what's best for them, tell them how much it's going to cost to hire you, and then help them make the best decision. And that may or may not include you.
Yeah.
So some people are like, I got to sell every lead that comes in. Right. And so now it becomes more salesy and slimy, where it's like, I'm trying to close you. I want to close you. I want to close you. And we don't do that. It's very consultative. So here's how I explain it to people. If if you went to college and you had a college roommate and they called you like, 6 years later after you graduated college, whatever, they called you out of the blue, they live in another state, they live 3 states away. They call you, say, hey, Brad, what's up? Hey, man, how's it going? I've talked to you a long time. Hey, listen, I know you have a construction business. We were thinking about remodeling our kitchen, and we just wanted to talk to you first to make sure, get some ideas from you, make sure we're not making any mistakes. Maybe if you can tell us roughly what it's going to cost so we know. I'm just talking to them like they're my friend, right? I'm just like, yeah, make sure you do this, make sure you have this, and this is probably going to cost you around this much. I'm talking to that person because I know I'm not selling that job. I'm just trying to be super helpful to my friend. If you approach every sales call in that exact same framework, you will do a phenomenal job in sales. That's not salesy. That's literally just trying to be helpful.
Yeah, I love the consultative approach for sure. I think it's uncomfortable for people too. And I'm a coach for other agency owners, and the one thing I always say is like, you got to put the reps in. You got to
Yep.
know that you're not going to be great at it at first, but you have to keep moving forward and doing it, and then it will become natural, and you'll get it in your own way that works for you.
It is. It's a skill. Like, you have to learn. It's no different than you learn how to swing a hammer and do carpentry stuff and how to build decks. You have to build the sales skill. And a lot of craftsmen who start their own business, they don't start their own business because they want to sell jobs, or they want to do marketing. They just want to swing the hammer, and they want to swing the hammer under their own terms. But in reality, you can do that if you want to stay on the tools and do that yourself. You can be a small company and do well. But if you're trying to build a business, then either you or someone else has to learn how to do sales. And if you do it the way that I teach it, it's not salesy at all. It's actually very, very um, it's very easy, and it's very comfortable. It's not difficult at all, and it's very natural. And your clients will love you. Like, you've probably met someone, April, where you walked away from a conversation and be like, wow, that I was really impressed. I really like that person. Like, they really, you know, I was just impressed. That's the difference between, someone who knows how to do sales. They make people feel good about themselves, and they leave that conversation feeling good about the conversation. That's a contractor who's learned how to do consultative selling, versus the other contractor where it's like, oh, you want this done? Here's the price. And, I didn't really provide any value.
Yeah. Order taker versus consultant, right? Is that what you said
That's
in the
right.
beginning?
Yeah, sure. Order taker versus consultant.
I love it.
I have
Um,
clients that have, had talked to people, gave them a price, and the client's like, that's just too much. It's too much money. We can't afford that. We found somebody else that's cheaper. And they're like, yeah, nope, I totally understand. You got to do what's best for you. Like, I don't care about your project. 6 months later, they call them back. Hey, we changed our mind. We want you to do the work. Because they started to go with the other contractor. Some things happened, started to see some red flags, maybe before they got into the actual build. And they're like, I don't know about this, because here's you, right? Made a good impression in their head the whole time. They're like, they're using you as the benchmark for all the other contractors they're talking to, and the other contractors are coming up short, right? In communication, like the value, the not the intangibles, because you set the benchmark and everyone else has to live up to you. And that's why I mean there's no competition. Like, because you should be the leader and everyone else is trying to compete with you.
Hmm. Bam. That's good mindset. What other aspects, really contribute to, failing on the pricing? So we talked about labor, we talked about mindset. Are there any other areas that, you typically see builders fail?
I mean, in pricing or just in like profit in their business?
Both. I mean, they both go together, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, pricing is like, before you sell a job, right? So you got to make sure you're getting all of those incidentals. One thing on the pricing side is non-productive time. Non-productive time gets you, because if you sell a 40-hour, let's just use a simple analogy. You have one guy, one employee, he's going to work 40 hours, right? You're going to sell a job, it's going to take 5 days, 40 man hours. The reality of it is he's not working 8 hours a day on the tools, because he's got drive time. So he's got to drive either from his house or from the shop. Like maybe if it's even only 15 minutes, that's 30 minutes both ways. Then he's got to meet with the client potentially if he's there by himself, or you're going to meet with the client and he's waiting while you're talking to the client. Then you got setup time, you got prep time, planning time, right? All the stuff that's going in. So in a 5-day week, there may only be 32 hours of productive time. So a 5-day job based on hours actually is a 6-day job based in calendar days. Right. And so that 6th day, if you're not charging for that 6th day, quote, overhead, then that could be all, if not a majority of your profit. Right. Because let's just say you have a simple math again, you're going to have a $2,000, you think you're going to make $2,000 profit on this 1 week job, but you don't take into consideration the other day of work, and your break even for the day is like $1,500. Well, you thought you were going to make $2,000 job in 5 days, but it took 6 days. So you only made $500 because you didn't account for non-productive time.
Yeah, and then that eats into your schedule and everything. And so it's just a domino effect.
That's right. And so if you have healthy margins on jobs where instead of making $2,000 profit, you're going to make, say, $5,000 profit, and it does go one extra day. I mean, we don't like that, but I'm still making money. I'm still going to make good money. So whenever you do charge more, it gives you breathing room, right? You can actually slow down a little bit. You can take a breath. Oh, I don't have to work 6 days a week. I don't have to work, we don't have to work the guys to the bone and try and get everything done because we're behind on this job. Like, if you charge appropriately, it gives you breathing room, you slow down, and you make more money. So you can even do fewer jobs a year and make more money. I would rather do 20 jobs a year than 30.
Hmm. Yeah. I think what I'm hearing is like, there's got to be some formula, I bet, that you coach people on where it's basically like, I mean, I remember when I first started, and I did project work as a, designer and marketer. And a lot of mentors told me, like, whatever you think your price is, double
Yeah,
it.
that's right. Yeah. My simple formula is this: if it doesn't scare the shit out of you, you're not charging enough. If you're not
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
holy crap, this price is way too much, like,
Uh huh.
I'm embarrassed to send this because I feel like I'm ripping someone off. If you don't have that kind of reaction, you're not charging enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's like perceived value in that too. And hey, I bet you've got some stories of folks that have increased their pricing and people maybe weren't alarmed. I know
Almost all,
that yeah.
almost every time. So whenever I get a new client in the Profit Club, and I do, whenever a new client joins, we do what's called a launch call. and we'll have them send over some financial information, profit and loss, do some job costing, a bunch of different stuff. And so we jump on a call and I look at everything, and we set up, make sure they're pricing correctly. And let's just say they're at 30% margins right now on their jobs. They're selling jobs at a 30% margin, gross profit margin. I'll say, look, all I want you to do is on the next job you send out, and it depends on, there's different variables, but it's like, it could be, all I want you to do is add $1,000 on your next job. That's it. Or I need you to add, $10,000 on this next job, depending on the size and stuff, or add 10%. And they're like, okay, they're scared to death, and they send it over, and the client's like, sounds good. When do we start? And then boom, that belief about they're not going to pay this much is gone. It's completely destroyed.
Sounds like baby steps. Like just do something and then you'll feel it and then you'll do more the next time, right?
Yeah, I will warn you though, like if your listeners are listening to this and they do that, there is a negative impact that comes after that, and that is when you realize that for however long you've been in business, you've been undercharging this whole time, and that you've gave away hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. It's pretty depressing.
Well, that's how we learn, right? Unfortunately.
And what's
You
even
know?
worse than that is the contractors are like, hey, we're busy, we're super busy. Um, well, what if you're booked out for 6 months, and you're booked out for 6 months at a lower profit margin? And now you just realize that you could charge an extra 10%, which would equate to like $200,000 more.
Mhm.
Guess what? You have 6 months worth of work you have to fulfill, knowing that you're, quote, losing less, making less money on those jobs.
Mhm.
That's also depressing.
Mhm. Yeah, that's why like knowing your numbers is so important too because you earn the privilege of raising your pricing and stuff like that. Like having a line waiting out the door. Come on, guys, like you're in demand. That's when you raise your pricing.
Yes. And I will throw this out. You may have to change your customer base.
Mhm.
If you've been working at a lower customer base, you may have to change that, because you will price yourself out of some markets. I mean, that's just going to happen, and I know there's people out there that like feel like they need to, like, you know, run their business kind of like a charity, and like, oh, this person's doesn't have much money. Let me give them a discount. Let me help them out. And not even that they asked for it. Like, you just came up with that in your own mind because of how they lived or where they lived or whatever, whatever story they told you. That person that you gave a $5,000 discount might be a next door millionaire and just very frugal with their money. And like, like, you know what I mean? You're not going to change their life any because you gave them a $5,000 discount.
Yeah.
You don't know. So I always say, don't run your business like a charity. Run it so you can be charitable, right?
Yeah.
Make more money, and then you can give a bunch of it away.
Yeah, there's a book called The Blessed Entrepreneur. It's a quick read and it'll give you that good mindset shift where it's like, make money so you could give back to the kingdom.
Absolutely.
Um so Futurescape is here. They said, "Hey, glad to have you guys. By the way, thanks for listening to the podcast." They said, "Looking forward to welcome you in under 3 weeks." They put on a good show, you guys. So definitely check it out.
Is
And
that
it's
your
free.
is that geared towards landscaping professionals, outdoor professionals?
Correct. Yeah. So last December was the first time they came to the United States and they came to LA and now they're doing it in a really beautiful venue in Santa Monica, which is so much better than LA. Sorry, LA people. But and they actually have one in Miami going on as well. So they're really expanding. But again, really well done show and it's free. So might as well go.
Yeah,
Lots
I'm
of
gonna check that out.
demos. Yeah, lots of demos and like I mean just to kind of give you a preview of one of the like a couple of the reasons why I think it's done so well is first of all they create a magazine just for the show. It's just like
Oh yeah.
very informative and easy to navigate. And the way that they did it last year, they had all of the speaker sessions kind of in the middle of um the area and so you could kind of always see what was going on and get a lot of value. They would have moderators for every session that would come up and introduce the speaker. It was just really well done, so I highly recommend going, and thanks so much again for listening to the podcast.
Sounds like a really good show that they put on.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I think you've already said it, but I am kind of curious to know if you have anything else to add. For anybody listening right now who suspects they've been underpricing, but they're not really sure where to start, what do you think their first move is this week?
Well, the book is a great start because I talk about in the book like what you should be charging, like how much you should be charging. So there's chapter 2 talks about pricing for big profits, and that's a good place to start. I don't know if we did it last time or not, but we can definitely do a promo code for any listeners to give them the ebook for free. They can just go there and put in the promo code, get it for free. I think we may have done it last time. Did we use the word promo code deck? Is that the one we used?
I
I
don't
can
know,
actually.
but we'll make sure that we put it in the show notes. And if you guys are listening and you have an issue with that, just let us know. There is a chat on our website, and you can always just reach out to Hammer and Grind. Any of those socials, it's the same on all the socials, I assume. Hammer and Grind.
Yes, and I did just check. We did do one. It's Deck Builder,
Okay,
all one
cool.
word, Deck Builder. If you put that promo code in, then you can get the ebook for free, and that's a good place to start
Cool.
to learn about pricing. I do have a
Yes.
calculator. I have a pricing calculator as well. They can go and just punch in a recent project, and it kind of tells you what
Hmm.
you should be charging. That's on my website. So if you go to hammerandgrind.com, which is on the screen right now, there's a button on there. I think it's towards the bottom. You can click on it and go and check out that profit calculator.
I love it. So helpful, man. Like I can't believe our time is almost up here. Like this went really quick. Appreciate you. I think that the listeners got a lot of value out of this, and again, really looking forward to having you on one of our client workshops here next week. So,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then if people just want to work with you, right? How does that look?
Yeah, there's few different ways that we can work together. So the easiest thing is just to schedule a call with me, strategy call. We'll look at your business. Yeah, they just threw it up on the screen. Jen's doing a fantastic job with the timing of these. Uh, you can go there and sign up. You can go to the Hammer and Grind website, and there's a button on there that says book a call. And what we can even do a quick little strategy call. We'll leave the call with like a direction of where you should go. Like it's going to be a helpful call. It's not just me trying to sell you. You know, again, I'm trying to be helpful, right? I'm trying to get you the right information. So, and I can share with you what it would look like to work together. Many different ways of doing that.
You'll get to experience his sales process as the customer.
I will use some sales tools on you. Yes, I will use sales techniques. It's funny because I have a lot of clients that when they start going through the sales training, they're like, "You did that to me,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Yes, I did."
Yeah. So I do want to end it with this, and I didn't ask you beforehand, and I'm not sure if you remember, but do you remember me asking you what the number one problem you see with most of your coaching clients?
I don't. I mean, I'm not sure if I remember you asking it or not.
Okay. Well,
Maybe.
I'm gonna say what you said. Is that
Okay.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It's pricing. You guys
Okay.
don't price yourself to what you should. So this call is extremely valuable, and I can't believe all of the resources that you have available to help them along the way. So definitely check out the website hammerandgrind.com. Brad has an amazing podcast, Hammer and Grind Podcast. You can see all of this on the site or any of the handles, Hammer and Grind Podcast. Get the book. It's free. So just use promo code Deck Builder. And yeah, you might as well book a call with Brad because it's no obligation. It's free. He's going to be helpful and point you in the right direction. So again, that's hammerandgrind.com / qualification dash website. Hopefully is the right one, but
Yeah. Or you just go to
he's
the web.
got,
Just go to go
yeah.
to Hammer and Grind. You can click on the
Yep.
button.
Yep. I love it. Well, any final words before we end today?
I would just challenge everyone if you're listening, like on the next job you sell, the next estimate you send out, add some money on there. It's super easy. Like it doesn't require any effort to change a number, right? So if it's You know, if your gross margins are less than 30%, you need to be charging more just to stay in business, right? So I would just encourage you to add, 10% on your total. If the total's $30,000, add a $3,000 on there. Just add 10% or whatever that is. And I can almost guarantee you that the person that you send it to will not say a single word about the price and just say, okay. And then you'll be like, holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can mail me a check. You can mail me that $3,000 and I'll take that from you if you feel bad.
That's the goal, right? To feel bad that you're making so much money. How about
Yes.
that?
Yes. I'll take all your money that you feel bad about. Send it my way.
Yes. Awesome. This was great. Really appreciate you, Brad. And so yeah, make sure that you stay tuned for more episodes and check out the Hammer and Grind podcast too. Really great to have you. Thanks so much, Brad.
Thank you. It's always fun. It's always fun to be on here.
All right.
Hey, deck building community. Enjoyed the show? Hit subscribe and give us your thoughts. We love hearing from you. Ready to level up your business? Visit deckbuildermarketers.com. Check out our services and let's build your success together. Don't forget to download our free guides. They're a game changer. Thanks for tuning in to We Love Deck Builders and see you on the next episode.